Hello everyone, welcome to Redbus TS channel. In this video, we look at the latest US immigration weekly updates for employment-based category. So for the week of June 22 to June 28th. So this is what we'll cover in this video. Updated the Texas driver's license area for renewals. Quite a few topics around this area. So this is what we'll cover. What's coming up. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, do subscribe for getting regular updates. We do this every week, so please do subscribe. So the first thing that has been focused is, Texas DPS is asking a valid visa stamp. This has been reported by multiple users and attorneys as well, saying that they're asking for a valid visa stamp when you go for driving license renewal. But if you look at the actual rule, right, which is basically the DL17, so the screenshot clearly tells that a foreign passport or visa valid or expired. So this for F1, when you have something of duration of status, or if you have for somebody like an H1, you need to have an I-94 with an expiration date, visa valid or expired. But what has been happening is many of these or some of these DPSs rather in the city have been asking that you need to have valid visa stamp and you're not able to renew. So this has been reported multiple users. So there has not been a proper solution for this. So basically that's what's happening. So if you have been in the US and haven't, your visa stamp expired, now you're going for renewal, there's a problem. So that's the problem what's happening. So again, if you're in the Texas and you're getting this denial of, for the renewal, you could just maybe print out this thing and ask for a supervisor and just tell all of these things. So one thing that also has worked based on what users feedback is ask them for the check the save record. Basically the save record comes from the USCIS. That also can be used sometimes. So again, it is a hit and a miss. So this is what you can do to do that, right? So that's the first part. So the second thing is there is a Supreme ruling that came last week, or rather this week, right, that talks about how it will impact the green card holders as part of that, right? So normally when you are a green card holder and when you come to the entry at the port of entry, you're treated technically as already admitted. Essentially, you have green card, so you're considered as already admitted and you're not treated like a first time person arriving. So the kind of things a CPP officer looks at is quite different, right? And if the government wants to remove, they must prove the case. Basically that's the whole thing. And because you keep stronger legal protections when you have a green card. But now with this ruling that has come, if you have a criminal record and if you committed a qualifying crime, you can be considered as already admitted to seeking admission. So that changes a whole new ball game, because the CBP officers have a lot of discretion now on how they will treat it, because you're seeking admission rather than already admitted. So now the burden is upon you to prove that you should be let in. You can be paroled some of the cases, like basically you'll be coming with a condition and then or placed in removal proceedings, however it is. So again, this applies mainly if you have any criminal history or some of these things, right? Again, these things what can happen. So if you have no criminal history, there is nothing you need to worry. But if you have any of these things, especially that is involving moral turpitude, things like fraud, theft, dishonesty, and some of these things that fall under that, right? They need to be careful. So if you are a green card holder, again, what you see is the blank and law case, right? This is June 23rd ruling. It was 6-3. So if you have any criminal history, old, minor, pending, or with a clean record, sorry, not a clean record. So if you have any of these from the past, all of these, you probably basically need to slightly be careful when you come in, because the CBP officers have broader discretion. So this technically applies to crimes that involve moral turpitude, as I said, fraud, theft, and all of these things. So if you have any of these things in your past, in the past, right? So you better consult with an attorney and then plan. But if you don't have any of these kind of cases in the past, then you can travel as usual. So nothing to worry. But something to be aware of, right? If you're traveling on a green card, you can't take it for granted. So other thing that's come up is DHS has put a proposed rule for comments. So this is they're planning to hike the naturalization fee, and basically 760 to 1300 and 710 to 1280, which is about 75-80% increase. So you can see the numbers what's on the screen, right? There are no fee waivers. They're removing that. In the past there were some fee waivers, so all of that and some of these things, right? So what it does is it impacts about close to 1 million people who are filing for N400 every year, and about it basically puts in $430 million onto the applicants, right? For employment-based, this is the final step to citizenship. If you're a green card, you at some point you need to apply for the citizenship. So this is the part. Again, it's not, may or may not be a big number, but I guess this is something that's coming. And again, this is in a proposed state, so you can actually give in your comments. In the past, the lower income applicants, they had some waivers and all of that. They're trying to remove all of that. So that's why we'll see how this pans out. But again, this is in a comment stage, and the comments close on August 24th. The second important thing this week that's happened is the TPS, the temporary protected status, the decision from Supreme Court can have broader implications, So this was 6-3, June 25th, right? So this impacts primarily Haitian and Syrian TPS holders. So broader, what happens is that, right, this actually, Trump administration may actually, do this for nearly $1.3 million, 1.3 million TPS holders, primarily Venezuela. You can see on the screen, right? Venezuela, Haiti, El Salvador, all of these, rest of the countries that are part of it, right? So the biggest thing is, there is a lot of discussion on this because, it could trickle down. I mean, Trump administration is trying to see that, many of these people have not been vetted in the past. So this is something special, not really like, get it right away, you can come in. So there's a lot of process around it and all of that. But the thing is, if this really happens, you can imagine about 1 million people who are employed as immigrant visas, like basically on this kind of status will be at risk of deportation and they may leave. So this creates like a gap in the job market. I think it can have an impact on other things as well, like how things are. Especially there is a study that tells that nursing cases are severely impacted. So this may also open up opportunities for people who are already there. So again, we'll have to see how this pans out. So this is what is happening. The next big thing is that's coming up starting from July 1st, which is next week, right? Recently, the Department of State is planning to run a pilot from July 1st to December 31st. So if you pay $750 in certain specific consulates or embassies in countries where there's a wait time is long, you will get basically visa entry within 10 business days, right? So this is again a pilot. So we haven't really got the list of countries yet. We are hoping to get that next week, hopefully, because that's when it starts. So, but again, if you are in the eligible country, you will see this option in the users scheduling website, right? Basically, so we'll see how this thing will go. There is a pilot cap as well, right? Which about 25,000 applicants are eligible, and they're expected to get a revenue of 19.3 million. That's what they're hoping. So basically, this was try to do it for the World Cup and also the LA Olympics. So all of these things are kind of planned out, right? So we'll see how this comes out and who's going to be eligible. The other update that we have is on no update rather, I would say, on the $100,000 H1B lawsuit, right? There's no changes. From last week, we've covered this extensively in the last few weeks, but still want to keep all of you posted. There's nothing that's changed, right? So it's currently, there's no new ruling. So the government actually filed with the appeals court. So basically all of these things are in hold and waiting for the appeals court. So essentially this fee is still in place, so we'll have to see how things will pan out, and we'll keep you posted every week. And this is an important thing if anything happens here. But as of now, there is nothing this week to report. And what's ongoing this week are, from last week, July Visit Bulletin, EB1 retrogressed for India, and EB2 is unavailable for even EB5 for also unavailable. So we can look at the previous weeks if you want to know more on that. And also there is no visa slots, bulk visa slots are released this week for H1B and H4, all of that things. So we have a large group that we manage here with communities, so where we see, there's literally zero, even no go slot as well. So that's one thing. Other things that are currently in happening are the duration of status that we are still waiting on that rule, and other things are still happening, right? So just in summary, to look at this week, if you're in Texas and trying to renew your H1B, if you're trying to renew your driver license, then you may be asked to show your valid visa stamp. So again, if you're in that kind of situation, try different places, try to show the rule, try to talk to supervisor and do whatever is possible there. So that's what you can do. And if you're a green card holder and if you do not have any criminal history, you don't have to worry. But if you have any kind of case or conviction in the past, there may be higher risk at the re-entry, because the CBP officers now have blanket thing with this new Supreme Court ruling that will change the whole thing. And the naturalization can get costlier. There's a proposed rule, so we'll have to wait on how things will change. The TPS ends for Haiti and Syria, so which will basically also can impact maybe over 1.3 million TPS holders in the US, right? So that's a big one. And starting from July 1st, which is next week, visitors, if you're applying for a visitor visa, there is a pilot program that is starting. So you can get an expedited appointment by paying $750. We don't have the list of countries countries yet. So we'll give most details next week and what things went. And the H1B $100,000 fee, there is no update here whatsoever. So we just are waiting for the appeals court on this, right? So this is it, folks. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, do subscribe for getting regular updates. We try to do this every week so that you don't have to look at other things. So please subscribe so that you can get all of these updates on employment-based immigration in the US. Again, thank you for watching. Do subscribe. Bye-bye.